The oil spill in the Gulf potentially will affect hundreds of thousands of lives. We wanted to find out more about what's going on, so I've come here today to talk to Bob Stokes, president of the Galveston Bay Foundation. How you doing, Bob?
Doing all right, Yolanda. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you too. Unfortunately, it's under pretty bad circumstances because we've got a situation in the Gulf. Can you kind of summarize that situation for viewers?
Sure. We've had an oil rig that caught fire and sank. There's an uncapped oil spill where hundreds of thousands of gallons of oil have leaked out into the Gulf of Mexico. There's really no timetable right now to determine how quickly they'll be able to cap that. So unlike an oil spill where a ship might collide and you kind of have a finite amount of oil in the water, here we just have no idea how much oil might ultimately leak into the Gulf of Mexico.
I hear birds chirping in the background, and I think about all the animals that will be affected, because this potentially is going to be a big ecological disaster.
Yeah, I mean, what we're worried about in the Louisiana coast for the moment is just the impacts to all the maritime life. All the fish that are out there, the shrimp, the oysters, sea turtles, jellyfish, you name it. And then also the shore life or the bird life. There's a lot of different types of shorebirds. Pelicans are the classic one that you worry about, but there's dozens and dozens of birds that make their home on the Louisiana coast.
And I know that our viewers with Going Green always want to try and help. So what can they do in this particular situation?
Well, I think there's a lot of ways that individuals can help right now. There's a coordinated effort in Louisiana for volunteers at this point in time through the Coalition to Restore Coastal Louisiana, and they have a website at crcl.org, and you can get on there and sign up. We're actually accepting volunteers right now for the Houston region, for the Galveston Bay region, in the case that something should down the road be necessary locally. We don't see anything in the short term, but this is a constantly changing situation. We don't have any idea how long that oil is going to be existing in the Gulf of Mexico, and you just don't know what either the Gulf currents or the wind and the weather might do. We don't think it's going to happen in Texas, but we're certainly taking names for people who might be able to help us out in a volunteer capacity should it be necessary.
Do you have any idea of once it hits the shore how long it will take? Because we don't know how many gallons will eventually come out,
right,
how long it will affect the wildlife.
I mean, it could be years and years, because what you have here basically is a sensitive shoreline that's made up primarily of wetlands, very shallow water, and the tide comes and it goes. And so you have particularly high tide, that oil will come into the shore and go miles and miles into the shore. And it's a very shallow area, unlike kind of a deep water cleaning, which is going on right now. And it's very difficult to get into some of those areas, and you worry about doing more damage than good to try to get into the very sensitive areas and trying to remove that oil. So it's a potential catastrophe. It hasn't happened yet, and in fact the oil has stayed offshore for much longer than people were thinking it might. So we just don't know. There's all kinds of possibilities, but in the best case scenario, with the right currents and the right winds, this may stay offshore for a much longer time, and that's a better place for it to be than coming onshore.
Yeah, because while it's offshore, it gets to break up a little bit and doesn't come forth as one.
Right, it just doesn't do the same level of damage. It does damage. That oil will dissipate and fall down to the bottom of the Gulf floor, and it impacts a different set of marine organisms there. But the perception certainly is that it doesn't do as much damage when it's offshore as what it does onshore.
Well, Bob, thank you very much for sharing an update and sharing how we all can help.
All right.
Now I say to you, all you guys have to do is visit the Green Room at 39online.com and find out what you can do to help our neighbors.